I'll never forget the morning I leaned in close to the bathroom mirror and saw them for the first time. Those little lines around my eyes, the ones that seemed to appear overnight. I just turned 62, and there they were, like faint cracks in a favorite teacup. And honestly, it shook me. I remember stepping back, my throat tightening, thinking, oh, this is it. This is what getting old looks like. I didn't cry right then, but later that day, while folding laundry, it hit me out of nowhere. Tears spilled over, hot and quiet. I felt less than, like the woman in the mirror wasn't me anymore. Maybe you felt that way too. Maybe you've caught your reflection and thought, when did this happen? Or maybe you've avoided mirrors altogether, like I did for a while. But here's what I've learned since then. Those wrinkles? They're not just lines, they're lessons. And if you'll stick with me for a bit, I'd love to share a few of the things they've taught me about kindness, courage, and finally making peace with the face staring back at me. Let's start with the first lesson, and it's a big one. Wrinkles taught me to have compassion for myself. For years, I'd look at photos of my younger self and sigh, "Look how smooth your skin was," I'd mutter, as if that woman deserved more love than the one I'd become. But one day, my granddaughter asked me why I always sounded angry at my pictures. Kids have a way of cutting through the noise, don't they? I realized I'd never talked to a friend that way. If my best friend frowned at her laugh lines, I'd say, those are from all the nights we stayed up giggling like fools. So why couldn't I say that to myself? It took practice. Every morning, I started saying one kind thing to my reflection. Not about how I looked, but about how I'd lived. Those crow's feet? That's from squinting at sunsets, I'd say. Or, that line on your forehead? That's from worrying about your kids, and how they've thrived. Slowly, the mirror became less of a critic and more of a storyteller. Now, the second lesson came to me in a grocery store of all places. I was reaching for a jar of peaches when a woman about my age smiled at me and said, "Your hair is such a lovely silver." I almost looked behind me to see who she was talking to. But then she added, "I've been dyeing mine for years. I'm afraid to let it go." And that's when it hit me. My wrinkles taught me to stop waiting for permission to be myself. For decades, I'd hidden behind layers of shoulds. I should dress a certain way, act a certain way, even age a certain way. But here's the truth. There's no rule book. Letting my hair go gray wasn't giving up. It was stepping into freedom. Those laugh lines, they're proof I didn't spend my life holding back joy to keep my face still for some invisible judge. Now, when I catch myself thinking, should I really wear this bright red lipstick at my age? I say, why not? Who's keeping score? And you know what's funny? The more I let myself be myself, wrinkles, silver hair, and all, the lighter I feel. Like I've shrugged off a heavy coat I didn't even know I was wearing. But here's the thing. This journey isn't about pretending it's all easy. Some days, I still miss that online face. But then I remember, well, let me tell you about the time I found my mother's old photo album. Natural pause, as if gathering thoughts you see. She'd kept every picture, even the ones where she'd scribbled too tired, or bad hair day in the margins. But in every single one, she was smiling. Not a perfect smile, but a real one. And that's when it hit me. My wrinkles taught me that beauty isn't something you lose, it's something you exchange. You trade smooth skin for the glow of a life fully lived. You swap perfect for authentic. And honestly, I'll take that deal any day. But you don't have to take my word for it. Try this. Tomorrow morning, when you look in the mirror, don't search for flaws. Look for stories. That line by your mouth? Maybe it's from the time you laughed, so hard lemonade came out your nose. Those hands with their veins and spots? They've held newborns, planted gardens, steadied loved ones. Our bodies aren't betraying us, They're documenting us. And if you're thinking, that sounds nice, but I'm not there yet, that's okay. This isn't a race. It's a conversation, one we'll keep having, you and I. Because there's more to this story. You know, there's something I didn't mention earlier about that day in the grocery store. The one where the woman complimented my silver hair. After we chatted for a bit, she said something that stayed with me. I wish I had your confidence. And I almost laughed because confidence wasn't what I felt, not then, not yet. What I did feel was tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of pretending. Tired of holding my breath, waiting for some imaginary finish line where I'd finally feel good enough. That's when I realized the third lesson. Wrinkles taught me to stop chasing perfection and start embracing what's real. Let me explain. For most of my life, I thought self-acceptance meant arriving at a place where I'd like every part of myself. But here's the secret nobody tells you. You don't have to like your wrinkles to make peace with them. You just have to stop letting them dictate your worth. I'll never forget the first time I went out without covering the age spots on my hands. I kept tugging my sleeves down. Sure, everyone was staring. But you know what happened? Nothing. The world kept spinning. The cashier didn't gasp. The sky didn't fall. And slowly it dawned on me. The only person who'd been judging those hands was me. So I started small. I'd leave the house without lipstick. I'd wear that polka dot dress I'd been saving for a special occasion just to buy groceries. And each time I'd whisper to myself, this is what freedom feels like. Not the absence of insecurity, but the courage to live fully in spite of it. Because here's the truth, perfection is a mirage. Those airbrushed faces in magazines, they're not real. But the joy in your eyes when you're telling a good story, the warmth in your voice when you comfort a friend, that's real. And it's worth 1,000 unlined faces. Now, this next lesson, it snuck up on me. Last winter, I slipped on an icy step and broke my wrist. Lying there in the snow, waiting for help, I wasn't thinking about my wrinkles or my gray roots. I was thinking, thank God I can still feel the cold on my face. Thank God I'm here to see another sunrise. And that's when it hit me. Wrinkles taught me to stop focusing on what's fading and start celebrating what remains. We spend so much time mourning the things we've lost. The smooth skin, the endless energy, the ability to bend without creaking like a porch swing. But what about the gifts that come with these years? The quiet wisdom of knowing who you are. The deep joy of grandchildren's laughter. The luxury of time to read, to garden, to sit with a friend and not rush. My broken wrist healed, but that moment in the snow left a mark on my heart. Now, when I catch myself sighing over a new line or a stubborn ache, I pause and ask, what can I see, feel, or do today that I couldn't have 20 years ago? The answers always surprise me. Just last week, I sat on my porch watching fireflies blink in the twilight. 20 years ago, I'd have been too busy chasing deadlines to notice. But now I have the eyes to see magic in ordinary moments. And that's a trade I'll take any day. But let's be honest, some days are harder than others. There are mornings when the mirror feels like a stranger, or when a stiff knee reminds you that time isn't just passing, it's leaving fingerprints. On those days, I lean into the fourth lesson. Wrinkles taught me that softness is strength. For years, I equated strength with pushing through, ignoring pain, swallowing tears, powering past limits. But aging has a way of humbling you. These days, strength looks different. It looks like resting when I'm tired instead of punishing myself for slowing down. It sounds like saying, I don't know, instead of pretending to have all the answers. It feels like letting a friend drive me to a doctor's appointment instead of stubbornly insisting I can do it alone. I learned this from my own mother, actually. Near the end of her life, she needed help bathing, something that embarrassed her terribly. One day, as I gently washed her shoulders, she whispered, "I'm sorry you have to do this." And I said, "Mom, do you remember teaching me to tie my shoes? To ride a bike?" This is just another loop in the same thread. Her wrinkles softened then, not because of anything I'd said, but because she finally let herself be cared for. That's the thing about softness. It gives others permission to love us, flaws and all. So now, when I'm tempted to criticize my reflection, I ask, what if tenderness, not toughness, is the bravest choice? What if every crease is proof I've loved, lost, and kept going? It's not about giving up. It's about opening up. And here's the beautiful part. The more I practice this kindness toward my body, my past, my ever-changing self, the more it spills over into how I treat others. The young mom at the store, fretting over her messy bun and tired eyes, I tell her she's glowing. The man at the park, limping but still walking his dog every morning, I nod and say, "Good to see you out here." Because here's what I've learned. When you stop fighting your own reflection, you start seeing the beauty in everyone else's. But don't worry, I'm not suggesting we all start reciting affirmations in the mirror like magic spells. This is messy, imperfect work. Some days, the best I can muster is, "Well, we're both still here, aren't we?" to my reflection. And that's enough. Because self-acceptance isn't a destination, it's a daily conversation. A choice to show up, wrinkles, worries, wonders, and all, and say, let's keep going. And you know what? The most surprising thing isn't how much I've changed. It's how much I've stayed the same. Underneath these lines, I'm still the girl who climbed trees and scraped her knees. Still the woman who stayed up too late laughing, loved too fiercely, and collected stories like seashells. The mirror just finally caught up. So if you're sitting there thinking, can I really get there? Let me leave you with this. The other day, my granddaughter traced the lines around my eyes with her little finger and said, "Grandma, your face is like a map." And I said, "Oh, where does it lead?" She grinned and said, "To all your adventures." Maybe that's the greatest lesson of all. You know, when my granddaughter called my face a map, it took everything in me not to tear up right then. But later, when I thought about it, I realized she'd given me the perfect metaphor. Because maps aren't just about where you've been, they're about where you're going. And isn't that the truth of these years? We've got decades of roads behind us, but oh, the paths still left to wander. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you really looked at your map? Not to critique it, not to wish it were smoother or straighter, but to marvel at how far you've traveled? Those lines around your lips? They're the footpaths of 1,000 conversations, some tender, some fiery, all part of the journey. The creases in your palms, they're the rivers that carried love, work, and countless moments of connection. This isn't just aging, my friends. This is cartography. But here's what I want you to take away from all this. Your body isn't a problem to solve. It's a story to honor. Every morning when I wake up now, I lay my hand on my heart and say thank you. Not because everything's perfect, but because it's here. It's still beating. It's still breathing. It's still showing up, even on the days when I forget to be grateful. And if that's not a miracle, I don't know what is. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but what about the days when the stories feel heavy? When the aches are louder than the joy? Oh, I've been there. Just last month, I stood in a dressing room under harsh lights, wrestling with a dress that fit differently than it did a year ago. For a moment, I heard that old critic piping up, "You've let yourself go." But then I remembered, this body isn't something to let go or hold on to. It's my lifelong companion. So I stepped back, took a deep breath, and said, we've been through too much to quit on each other now. And you know what? I bought the dress, not because it hit anything, but because it fit. The me I am today, not the ghost of who I once was. That's the thing about self-acceptance. It's not about fixing. It's about befriending. It's about whispering, I see you, to the parts of yourself that feel vulnerable. It's about throwing a party for your scars, your sags, your spots, not because you have to love them, but because they've earned their place at the table. So here's my challenge to you. Tonight, before bed, ask yourself one question. Not in front of a mirror, not with a critical eye, just softly, like you'd ask an old friend over tea. What have I learned from my body after turning 60? Maybe it's taught you patience, like it taught me. Maybe it's shown you resilience, or the sweetness of slowing down. Or maybe, like my mother's photo album, it's reminded you that joy doesn't need perfect conditions to bloom. Whatever your answer, I hope you'll share it with a loved one, a journal, or even right here in the comments. Because here's the secret. When we tell our stories, we give others permission to tell theirs. And suddenly, those lines we thought were isolating us, they become bridges. Before I go, I want to thank you for spending this time with me. If these words resonated, do me a favor, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Not for me, but for you. Because you deserve more reminders that life after 60 isn't a downhill slide. It's a wide open horizon. And remember, my dear friend, you are not fading. You are a light. Every wrinkle, every silver strand, every earned inch of softness is proof that you've lived boldly, loved deeply, and carried on through storms. So here's to maps, to miracles, and to the magnificent work of art that is your life. Keep shining. Until next time.